Hola amigos, bienvenidos a No Seas Pendejux. Spiritual wisdom para chingones y chingonas como tú. Welcome to a new decade, friends. It's 2020, and I hope that the transition was good for all of y'all. I kept seeing people posting stuff about how horrible 2019 was to them and how much it like kicked their ass and all these different things. So that's done. And I hope that you've been able to let go of the things that you needed to let go of, not only from the past year, but from the past decade, so that you can move forward with as much energy and vigor and passion as possible into this next year and this next decade. So, to get that started, first I want to let you know about a couple things that are coming up from Tending the Fires. This month, we're starting two new offerings. One of them is our impeccability program. And this program is focused on teaching people how to become aware of all of the unconscious beliefs that dictate our emotional responses every single day. These are the little things that we have been taught to do since we were children, that we do for the most part unconsciously, but they contribute to our giving our power away by, first and foremost, not taking full responsibility for ourselves and our actions, by attempting to sidestep the consequences of the things that we do. And also, by becoming aware of all the little ways that we've been taught to sabotage ourselves. So I've worked with people for a long time on these things at this point, starting back about 17 years ago. And what I realize over and over again is that no matter how many resolutions a person makes, or how many goals they set for themselves, or how excited they are at the beginning of those resolutions or those goals, people have this tendency of falling back into the same patterns of behavior, the same patterns of action, and the same patterns of belief as soon as the steam runs out from that initial excitement. And many times people ask themselves why that is. And sometimes people will just write themselves off and say, well, shit, that's just how I am. And once they make it an identity thing, then that's essentially a life sentence to keep reliving the kinds of frustrating and painful cycles in your life. So, impeccability is about teaching you not only how your interactions with others create these kinds of cyclical patterns, but how your interactions with others are a mirror for your interaction with yourself, with the many different layers of yourself. And how by becoming aware of that mirror and the way that it functions, you can start to clear out some of the beliefs and some of the behaviors that were literally imprinted on you when you were young. And that at a certain point in time, these imprints, these energetic, psychological, or emotional imprints, became part of who you believe yourself to be. And at that point, they go on autopilot. So you don't even consider the fact that they're there. And day after day, you're contributing to your own destruction, to your own frustration, and to your own incapacity to move forward in really becoming the person that you're here to be. So our impeccability program is all about helping people become aware of that. And that's one part of the things that we need to learn how to integrate into our day-to-day lives. Recapitulation is another, which is a massively important one. Recapitulation is learning how to take these awarenesses, these things that arise for us on the day-to-day basis, and track them back to their origins at the very beginning of our lives, so that we can release the parts of us that are stuck there. So these two things are going to be coming back to back and made available to our community starting January 20th for impeccability and January 21st for recapitulation. So if you want to know more about that, check it out on tendingthefires.com. There's a page dedicated to each of the two. Now, the next thing. I've been thinking about this, about speaking about this for a long time. And it hit me in meditation a couple days ago that it's something that really needs to be spoken to. Largely because of the way that it's mystified and the way that many people have a tendency of taking terms and misappropriating terms. Taking terms and believing that the terms themselves are the ones that carry power. And then misusing those terms in order to provide the illusion of power or divest others of their power, which is a two-way street, right? Because the fool that falls for the con is just as responsible as the con person. So, what is shamanism? Shamanism is something that has become very, very popular nowadays. Or the word shaman is something that has become very popular nowadays. It's a great hashtag. And it's a wonderful way to sell everything from chocolate to music festivals to thoughts. And out there you'll see many, many people that use this word and attribute it to themselves in a way that brings the hungry and not very discerning masses to their door. So here's the thing. I've had this interest in shamanism since I was about 10 years old. And that means that pretty much for the last 30 years, I have been pursuing learning about this from many different angles, many different traditions. It's taken me to places all over the world to learn directly from people that embody aspects of it, as well as years of intellectual and academic study. And what I keep coming back to is this awareness that the mystification around it does a great disservice to the people that both live it and embody it, and to those that are fumbling around in the dark looking for somebody to follow. And I'll tell you why. Because largely, people seem to want to associate certain supernatural or fantastic things to this word. They want to believe that they can either step into this title and all of a sudden be somebody, or that they're not somebody, so they need to follow somebody that has given themselves this title. And in my experience, those that actually embody this, what is an incredibly vast understanding of consciousness and the many relationships between many forms of consciousness. What the people that embody this seem to do is realize that the path to embodying what they embody is, first of all, extremely gut-wrenchingly difficult. And it requires an immense amount of sacrifice. Sacrifice on the level that the vast majority of people that live in modern, comfortable societies are not willing to make. And they reach the ability to embody that by stripping away all of the illusions and delusions that they've been told that they are or are not. See, at the core of it, shamanism is not supernatural. And I can sit and I can tell you all these different archetypal aspects of it, right? I can tell you about all the different programs that are out there that want to give you a step-by-step way to receiving a piece of paper that tells you and others that you are it. But that's never the point. The point is that in order to embody this, in order to be a vessel for this, you have to first of all realize that everything you believe yourself to be is a construct that's been implanted in you. Everything that you think that you are is an act of sleight of hand that keeps you focused on one place or one point in time, believing that that is something that exists. When it really isn't. See, consciousness is a river. You can't grasp a river. You can point at the many different characteristics that come together in a way that allow you to perceive the river, but you can never grasp the river. Shamanism is about you learning to be aware of the river as it flows, in the many ways that it flows, both internally and externally. And realizing that at any given point of reflection, what you're gazing upon is something that no longer exists. It goes well beyond any of these different ideas of lower worlds, upper worlds, middle worlds, of spirit animals, power plants, of allies and guides and shaking rattles and banging drums. See, all those things are cool. I love all those things. But all those things are yet again just a finger pointing to the moon. Just like the word shaman. When you get hung up on the word, you miss what it's pointing at. When you get hung up on the concepts associated with it, you miss what it's pointing at. And what it's pointing at is the sacredness that exists in you, the divinity that exists in you, in each and every one of you. So it's a place to arrive at and depart from, but it is not a person.